Welcome to Rome. This is The Bittersweet Life with Katie Sewell and Tiffany Parks. Hello, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Sewell. Tiffany is away this week, but I am joined by Isidora Salcedo. She is a visual artist. She recently published a graphic novel called Diaries of an Au Pair about her experiences caring for other people's children while living abroad and her life as a migrant in Germany and Austria. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy it worked out in the end.
Oh, we had a few connection problems, but we're finally here.
Yay.
So I'm curious, since this is a show that a lot of people call themselves expats on, why do you like the term migrant as far as when you describe your own experience?
I don't know. I recently bumped into the term expat, and we always thought with my friends as ourselves as migrants. So actually, like when I was researching podcasts about migration, I bumped into the term expats, and I discovered usually people from North America or like Europe talk themselves as expats, and people from South America refer themselves as immigrants. So for me, it was like really new concept.
So where were you living before you moved abroad?
I was living in Chile in my hometown. I studied in my hometown, and I always wanted to move abroad after finishing university. That was like my plan, and then I wanted to study. But I finished the university COVID,
Yes.
so it wasn't so easy to move abroad, and that's how I bumped into the au pair program because it was one of the few visas that were open to move abroad during COVID.
Hmm.
So actually, it was very funny because I got my visa approved the 10th of March, and I was flying the 18th of March. On the 1 of April, they closed the border in Chile for 8 months,
Oh,
and nobody could leave the country for 8 months.
wow. So you barely made it out.
I barely made it out.
Wow. Well, for the people who don't know, what is an au pair?
An au pair is a cultural exchangement that you take care of other children, of other people's children living abroad, and you receive like housing, food, and they call it pocket money, and it differs from country to country. Basically, it's a cultural exchange, and you're sort of like a nanny.
Right. So it gives you a chance to move abroad, but you're not getting rich doing it, basically. It gives you a place to live.
Yeah, and like the security, like with my friends, we always said like, yeah, if you move to like another country and like the same night you have like a bed, like a fridge, everything. You have like a schedule, and it's very like planned. So it's kind of very secure in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if somebody doesn't feel so comfortable, like for I don't know, looking for a flat in another language or like for a job. It's very cozy. Let's put it in that way sometimes.
Yes, having read your graphic novel, I know that it was not all easy for you. But let's start with your first family as an example of how it could go when you do move abroad. So where did you end up going? Who did you connect with?
I opened a profile in like an au pair page. After 3 weeks, I signed a contract with a family in the south of Germany. They lived in a small town called Tübingen, and I never had heard about it. And I had the feeling, okay, I'm gonna move in the middle of nowhere, but they seem really nice. And the foreigner au pair was like, they're super nice. I love them. And I was like, okay, they're my people. But I didn't do any research much about the town. I was like, okay, there's a bigger town next to it. So I'll probably always be there. And if you move abroad, I recommend researching more.
Yeah.
So I just got really good surprises. I lived in a university town, and I took care of a 6 year old and a 10 year old. And the family like was great. We connected really, really quick. And actually, like I still live in Germany now, and I visit them. I visit them like every once in a while, and I stay over, and like I go to their birthday. So it's like my second family. And the schedule was very comfortable. The mom was a German teacher, so she helped me to study a lot. And I had something weird that usually au pairs don't have. Usually, when you're an au pair, you live with the family in their house or apartment or whatever, wherever. But the family, they had an extra flat. So I had a flat next door to their flat. So I had like my own space. So I always invite people over. I always made dinners. I always invited people for drinks. And since all my friends were au pairs, my apartment was like the meeting place. Like when we wanted to do something, it was like, yeah, let's go to Easy's apartment. So I had like a lot of independency, a lot of freedom, and the apartment was next door. So it was like, I want cookies, or I'm hungry, or I don't know, I want to see other people. I just walked to the next door and was in their apartment. And I went on holidays. I went to Croatia. I did a lot of stuff. It was a really great year.
Did you not have the option to just stay with them since it was such a great experience? Like, how does that work contract wise?
Contract wise, that's disappointing because the only country you can extend is the US actually.
Mm.
You can't extend in other countries, so it's a contract for 1 year. And if you're European in Europe, I think you can extend depending on the country, but I couldn't. The family actually, when I was trying to do the switch to Austria, we saw the possibility of trying to stay more, but I wanted to apply to a scholarship that I couldn't live that long in Germany. So in the end, we had to like cut it. But we were both like, oh, this is working so great for all of us. And like, we had a great relationship with the girls. So it was like we all wished it would have lasted longer.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been hard to say goodbye. I get the impression from reading your book that you all really loved each other by the end of that year. So it must have been a challenge to move on.
Yeah, I think it happened to all the girls. Like I knew the girl before me and the girl after me, and like the girl after me, she was like, I cried nonstop. And the girl before, she was like, I was the same.
Wow.
And it was sad actually. The little girl told her mom, like, this is so hard. Like every year I have to say goodbye to the people that I love and I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It'd be hard on the kids too if they love you. So you move on to Austria, and of course, you have this amazing experience behind you. How are you feeling when you move to Austria to the next adventure and to the next family?
I was really excited. I was gonna live in Vienna. Vienna is like a really artsy city. I was an artist and it sounded really good. And I was excited. I was like, okay, like this is again gonna be like the time of my life. And everything went very wrong, like from day one. Actually, day one was Labor Day, 1 of May. So I still have it like the day. But I was excited and I thought it was gonna be great. And I think my expectations were too high.
So what happened? How did you first start to notice that things might not be as good this next time?
Oof, several stuff like when I signed the contract, we had like problems to like coordinate like my arrival date and those kind of stuff. Visa wise, there was like a lot of problems. And then I did something that I should have done before signing the contract. Like the mom was like a foreigner politician that had like a very fishy past. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be like a soap opera. And I arrived like in Vienna and like they're like, we're not home, we're gonna arrive like at night. And I was like, it's Labor Day, everything is closed. Like, where do you want me to go?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like getting off the train, being like really sweaty. It was raining. Like I remember like, oh, they didn't have hot water and it was like a marble bathroom. So I was like, this is very ironic. And they were really abusive. I didn't have a schedule. The mom was like racist. Um, they said really mean stuff to me. It was really bad. And then from the beginning, I told them like, yeah, like you're not like respecting what we talked about, like time wise and like benefits. They were very rich and very wealthy. And after I said that, they gave me my own apartment, but I lived like half an hour away from them. And that was nice because I really didn't like this, so it made it more bearable. But until now, I call it like the depression apartment because it was a very depressing period. And I remember like walking in Vienna to this is like a movie, being like in these spectacular places and like crying my eyes out.
Yeah. Yeah, so what happens then if you're in a contract and you're this miserable, can you get out of it? What happens?
In Austria, like my contract, I could get out in a week. They supposed me gave me holidays, so the plan was I will quit before my holidays, so they're forced to pay my holidays, and I don't have to see them. In the end, like for me, it wasn't like it was like if they don't pay me, I'm okay, but I just need to leave because like this is very toxic. And they said we never gave you holidays, but like you can leave tomorrow. You just need to clean up the apartment. And I lasted 3 weeks I never felt more miserable.
Wow. And did you have a chance to talk to anybody else who had worked for them?
Yes, that was like the curious thing that I talked with the girl that was before. She was from Vietnam and she was like, I had a great experience, they're really nice people. So I was like, okay, I'm in the safe side. And then I was on the safe side. And I think I was like in a very toxic circle as well because I was all my friends or the girls that I knew were in the same situation. So it was just like talking about our miserable lives while we saw like these amazing buildings. So it was very ironic. And everything was like telenovela, like in South America. Like I remember I had a friend that she worked for a very rich family, and the family didn't trust her, and she had a bodyguard, so she had to be 24/7 with this newborn baby with her bodyguard in the back.
Oh,
I feel really micromanaged when I work with the kids, and she was like, "Yeah, me as well. You can ask the bodyguard."
wow. So after that, you lost 3 weeks. I love the image of you crying in Vienna because we've talked about that feeling so much about both feeling like I'm so utterly lucky to be here and I'm just so unhappy while I'm here.
Yes,
It's that combination.
yes.
So after you get free from these people 3 weeks later, you've had one great experience, you've had one awful experience. Now, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling really tired and exhausting because I decided to quit after a week and a half. So in the week and a half, we had a very big fight. It was about like food and schedule. And then I was like, I can't be here. And then I started looking for another family. So I was feeling very tired. I had my family, and I told them like I can start, but like I need like a week of holidays. Like I need to go away because I think I'm in the holidays. So I went like to Prague, I went to Budapest, and I was like, ooh, like this is great. And it really helped me because I really need like the holidays. So after that, I was like, oh, this is gonna be like a fresh start, like everything's gonna be fine. And then I moved in with a new family, and it wasn't so good as well. They live an hour from Linz. They live like in a small village. It was 2,000 people.
Uh huh.
Yeah, it was very tiny.
So that was also awful, that experience.
That was awful. But in a different way, I feel.
How so?
I always think like when I lived in Vienna, it was like a psychological deal. Like I was being very like they treat me really bad, and that kind of affected me. And I didn't have a schedule, so it was like I was constantly thinking because I was on call all the time. So sometimes I saw a message and it was like come in 3 hours, and it was like so I was always like I don't want to see the phone. If I see it, maybe I like don't have to go. And the other thing I think when I moved to the second family, it was like a physical jail
Mm.
because I lived in the countryside, so there was not a lot of buses to go to town, and I'm like very sociable. And it was always raining, so it was like, okay, I can't go anywhere. And the family had a very different relationship with me, like from my first family. Like, I don't know, with my first family, like I was a very independent adult. I had like all my adult freedoms. Like when it was my day off or my time off, I could like stay in my bed all day or go out. And I have a boyfriend that lives in Munich, and I visit him on the weekends, and I just went and go. Like, of course, there was like communication. It's not that I disappeared, but here I had to tell in advance what I was gonna do in my days off and if I was gonna go out. So I didn't have the freedom of like using my own time. So it was like a little bit like jail. And as well, a lot of au pairs come, they have like food problems, like they kind of starve. And I never had that in Germany. I could just eat whatever I wanted. And here I had to ask every time I wanted to eat something, and I couldn't take food between meals. And I had to buy my own snacks. And if I wanted to go out, I couldn't take snacks. So in the end, I was like spending a lot of money on food that I shouldn't. I remember hiding food in my room, like because I was kind of hungry. So it really felt like jail.
Wow. So, I mean, so after those three, do you just, what do you do? Do you call it quits? Is that the end?
I kind of had to call it quit because the thing is, the family fired me in the end because my German was not good.
That's right. I remember from your book that you were required to speak German with the kids. So they fired you because you couldn't speak German well enough, in their opinion.
Yeah, so the thing is, after the 2 weeks that I got fired, they didn't have this feeling that they wanted to throw me out. They were like, we don't want to like you to become homeless, so you can stay working for us as long as you want. But there was several issues. In Austria, you have to repay your visa every time you switch families. And I already did it twice, and it was like 300 euros, and again it was like 150. And as an au pair in Austria, you make like 400, so it was getting quite expensive,
Yeah.
like financial wise. And on the other hand, I couldn't change families right away because I never had a visa.
Hmm.
I was undocumented. Don't do that, people. It's bad. And because the first family didn't paperwork the papers correct. So I never had like a social security number. I was never like publicly insured. Like everything was like very under the rug. And I had a lot of problems to get my visa, so I couldn't move to a new family without the documents. So I had to stay with them for like at least 3 weeks. And then at that point, I was like, okay, I have stayed here 2 weeks. I think I can't cope with 3 weeks more with you guys.
Yeah.
I had a ticket to visit my foreigner family in Germany, and I said, I'm not going back. I'm leaving with all my stuff. And I left to Germany.
And so that's where you are now. So how have you managed to stay in Germany so far?
Oh, it was a really big hustle because since I never had like a formal visa, like a working visa or a work permit, my tourist visa was gonna expire. I was on my tourist visa, and when this happened, my tourist visa was gonna expire like in 2 weeks. So I had 2 weeks to solve my problem, and I really didn't expect that situation. So I had to leave Schengen and go to Ireland so my visa could kind of get renewed. And I got a new visa for Germany in Ireland. And I stayed 3 weeks in Ireland and I came back to Germany. And that was very unexpected.
Wow. So given all your experience with this, would you recommend being an au pair to other people?
I loved it and I hated it. It was the bittersweet, like in all ways. I think depends on the person, the personality, and totally the family. Like my last family, they said to me when I left, we have had 5 au pairs and you're the only one that didn't work. And for me, it was like you can ask my family in Germany. So I think it depends on the person, on the family, and how much are you willing to sacrifice. Like you're still living with a strange family you met online. If you think about the concept, it's really weird. Like you speak 2 hours via video conference, and then like 2 months later you're eating with them every day, you're living with them, you see their fights, you see like their good days, their bad days, you see them in pajamas. Actually, the first day I came, my boyfriend and we arrived on a Saturday at 5, and then like we chatted, they showed me like everything. And then we went like for a walk and we came back for dinner, and I was like, we need to leave. It's kind of getting late. And he was like, no, your husband invited me to stay. And I was like, what? What just happened? And he was like, yeah, she said in German, like, how am I gonna like drive so late at night? And I was like, we don't know these people. And then I remember the next morning we were like having breakfast with the girls, with the parents. The girls were like, so what do you do? Like, tell us about you. And I was like, the situation is so weird. And for everybody, it was super normal. My boyfriend took lunch. But those kind of stuff happened. Like, it was the second time I saw them, and everybody was in pajamas. So it's a very intimate relationship in the end for both. But I still highly recommend it, even though like it didn't turn out so well in the end. I still highly recommend
What about for yourself? Do you see yourself doing it again if you run out of your tourist visa again?
it. I don't think so because I'm getting kind of old for being an au pair, and I think it's something that I did. It was great. It was horrible. I want to do again.
Well, the book that you wrote is called Diaries of an Au Pair, and we'll put a link in the show notes so people can find it to your website. Is there anything else you want people to know about how to find you?
You can visit me on my website. It's www.isidora Salcedo. bittersweet.cl. And if anybody has any questions about being an au pair, of the bittersweet of being an au pair, you can write me an email at Isidora Salcedo de la O 1 at
Com.
gmail.com. Oh, my English for a moment. For a moment, my English. I was starting to say it in Spanish.
Well, we'll put all of that in the show notes, and of course, when this episode comes out, we'll tag you on Instagram so you can find her that way also. Thank you so much for sending me this book in the mail. It was such a delight to read, and thank you for being on the show. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you for the invitation. I had a great time. I'm happy you like the book.
Yes, it was very fun to read. All right, we'll leave it there, and until next time, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Sewell. Talk to you soon. Bye. If you love the show, take a moment to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love to read while you listen, and your rating might help someone else discover the show. Take just a couple of minutes to let the world know what you think of this show. It means the world to us. Thanks.